morning students, welcome to online class. This is Sheila, your computer application teacher. Today we are going to see the last chapter, chapter 18, electronic data interchange, which is actually represented or abbreviated as EDI. So what is EDI? EDI is nothing but exchange of business documents between one trade partner to another. And how we are going to do it? Through your internet or through a private channel. Whatever we are going to do, it is going to be sent through an electronic medium. Yes, electronically. So only we call it as what? Electronic data interchange. It is transferred through a dedicated channel or through a internet. Yes. Why do we use it? It is used for transferring the documents. What sort of documents are we going to send? Delivery notes, yes, invoices, purchase orders, advance ship notice, functional acknowledgements, etc. And these documents, these documents will be sent from one computer, yes, one computer of the issuing company, whomsoever is going to send from there to the party, to the receiver, yes, to the receiving company. That too by avoiding many errors like on paper communications, or avoiding all that. You will be sending the data from one place to the another, one system to the receiving end. Yes, before the popularization of internet-based e-commerce, it was a major e-commerce model actually. See, it includes exchange between buyers, sellers, trade partners, and also internal data exchange within the departments of a company. So what they are telling us, this before the existence of internet, what happened is that there was a data exchange. It includes, your EDI includes everything, a trade between buyers and sellers, whether it is going to be between the trade partners or whether it is going to be within the department also. Yes, EDI takes place. There are many internationally accepted EDI standards. One is EDIFACT, XML, ANSI, X12, etc. I also told you that your EDI shares invoice also. And just have a look at this diagram. The buyer sends the purchase order from the internal system, and suppliers receive the invoice in the supplier's internal system. Your EDI and EFT, electronic data transfer and fund transfer, are all paperless payments. Yes. You know who's the father of EDI? Father of EDI is going to be Ed Gilbert. Yes, it is the person who started this EDI. Soon business began to realize that using this EDI has smoothened the business transaction and started to increase the profit. These standardizations made ordering, shipping faster, they are more organized, and they were less expensive. Beginning, EDI documents were transmitted electronically. We transmitted it by using radio teletype or telex. Yes, or through telephone. Yes, after in late 1960s, what happened? We started shipping lines, railroads, airlines, truck companies. They started using these things for transferring the data for their business. These messages were different in formats, and it resulted in transfer of goods. Yes, it resulted in problems in transfer of goods. So what happened is, airlines used their own ways of transferring the data, and roadways started using their own formats, and each and every companies were using their own format for sending a data, sending invoices, electronic messages, or anything. So what happened is, because of this, there was a problem in transfer of goods. So in 1968, these companies grouped themselves together and they formed a transportation data coordinating company. Yes, and they started developing this EDI standard formats. Long ago, what happened is, when they were transferring data from one place to the other, or data, maybe any invoices or any papers, let it be. When they were sending, they had a problem because everyone will be using different formats. So what happens is the receiver may not be able to understand what he is telling, and the sender may not understand the requirements of the receiver. So these were the problems that prevailed in late 1960s, and that's what happened is they started developing a committee. Yes, and that committee was called as Transmission Data Coordinating Committee, and this committee started to develop EDI standard formats. Yes, in 1975 the first EDI standards was released by TDCC, of which Ed Gilbert was a major contributor. That is why we call him as the father of EDI. In 1977, a group of supermarket companies and those business partners began drafting and started to use EDI project. Yes, the TDCC is renamed as Electronic Data Interchange Association. What happened later on, this TDCC was also renamed as EDIA. What does it mean? Electronic Data Interchange Association. It was named in the year 1978. Later in the year, the EDIA was undertaken by the American National Standard Institutes, and they become the ANZIX 12 committee. Since then, this committee is responsible for the publication of EDI standards. In 1985, what happened is United Nations created EDIFACT to assist the global reach of technology in e-commerce, and EDIFACT was widely used EDI. What is EDIFACT now? EDIFACT is a standard, a universal standard for transferring data. Yes, for transferring invoices or any formats of data. Yes, for that only we started this EDIFACT. The types of EDI, they are constructed based on EDI communication connections, and the conversion were organized. Yes, based on the medium used for transmitting, EDI documents were classified with respect to these. Yes, it is classified as direct EDI, EDI via WAN, EDI through FTP, VPN, SFTP, FTPS, Web EDI, and Mobile EDI. Direct EDI, the name itself specifies, right? The direct EDI or point-to-point EDI, they both are same. Actually, it establishes a direct connection with various stakeholders. Say for example, if the connection between end-to-end, it will be a direct connection between end-to-end business parties. Yes, this type of EDI suits larger business parties with a lot of day-to-day business transactions. Now let us move on with EDI via WAN. WAN stands for Value Added Network. They are transferred with the support of third-party network service providers. It is not going to be direct connection, whereas you will have a third-party service providers to make the EDI EDI document transfer. Yes, many business prefer this network model to protect them from the updating ongoing complexities of network technologies. Yes, what happened is many business models, many businesses started choosing this EDI via WAN because they wanted to protect the updating ongoing complexities in the network. As you get into this, yes, you can see a sending company and a receiving company. Yes, the internal format, EDI translator, you have EDI data, you have a communication software, and through this communication software what happens is a data is being transmitted or received via what? EDI network service provider, a third party. Yes, why do we do that? It is because we wanted to reduce the networking problems or any technological problems. Yes, EDI via FTP / VTN or VPN, SFTP or FTPS. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, FTP for File Transfer Protocol. Yes, the same is for your SFTP and FTPS. See, why do we use these protocols? All these are going to be protocols. Why do we use this? It is used for exchanging the EDI based documents through the internet or intranet. What is the difference between internet and intranet? Internet is network of network, where all the whole world is going to get communicated. Yes, intranet is not like that. It may be within the business organization. Within the business organization doesn't mean that it is going to be within the company itself. It can be, what I say, let us take our Danish school itself. Even though let us consider the Danish school is here in Kollatur and also away somewhere like Coimbatore or something. If it is going to be the same organization, we can communicate. I mean, the teachers can communicate, or there might be a network where these two organizations within the same roof can communicate. That is termed as what? Intranet. Fine. It is called as EDI via FTP, VPN, SFTP and FTPS. Now, web EDI. Web-based EDI means what? You will be using web user. Yes, EDI will be using web browser via internet. Here, the business are allowed to use any browsers to transfer the data to the business partners. Yes, you can use any browsers for transferring the data. Web-based EDI is easy and convenient, and it is used for small and medium organizations. Yes, now next comes your mobile EDI. What is mobile EDI? When smartphones or other such handheld devices are used to transfer EDI documents, it is called as mobile EDI. So what happens? Using your mobile phone itself, if you are able to transfer an EDI document, it is termed as what? Mobile EDI. Mobile EDI applications considerably increases the speed of EDI transactions. Yes, the small the content is going to, the compact devices actually increases speed of EDI transactions. EDI was developed. Let us see the advantages of EDI now. EDI was developed to solve the problems inherent in paper-based transactions processing and in other forms of electronic communication. Actually, why do you know why EDI was developed? It is because we had paper-based transaction processing. Yes, when we had paper-based work, what happened is we had problems to face. Yes, so that is why we started to develop EDI. Implementing EDI system offers a company greater control over its supply chain and allow it to trade more effectively. So as we started to use EDI, what happened is it actually developed the trade, and the trade was taking place more effectively. It increased productivity and it started to promote operational efficiency. There are other advantages as well in EDI. You know what? Improving the services to end users. It increase productivity, minimize the errors, slashing response times, automation of operations, cutting cost, integrating all business and trading partners. Providing information on process status, optimizing the financial ratios. These are the advantages of your EDI. Now let us move on with EDI layers. In your EDI is a format it is going to be, right? So in this format, what is all you're going to have is you're going to have around 4 layers. One is going to be semantic layer. The other layer is going to be standards translation layer. Third layer is going to be transport layer, and the fourth one is going to be physical layer. Yes. So let us see one by one. Why do we use this physical layer? It is going to be an internet dial-up line. It is going to be a connection that is going to be established. Yes, for establishing a connection, we are going to use this physical layer. Physical, it means outward. Yes. Next, EDI transport layer. Your EDI transport layer consists of World Wide Web, point-to-point, electronic mail, HTTP, FTP, X435, MIME. All these are going to be your EDI transport layers. Yes, the services that is actually provided by each and every layers. Yes, EDI standard layer, it is an EDIFACT business from business form standards or ANSI X12 business form standards. Semantic layer, it is going to have application level services. Yes, initially it is going to be a dial-up connection or an internet connection. EDI transport layer, it supports whether it is going to be a point-to-point connection, or it is going to be a browser-based connection, or you are going to send a mail. Yes, for sending all these mails, you will need a set of protocols as well, and these protocols are here, your telnet, FTP, sorry, all these are going to be protocols. Next, your EDI standard layer, it has EDIFACT business form standards. EDIFACT, we already know it is a standard format for your EDI. Yes, now let us see the major components of your EDI. So what are all it consists of? It consists of a standard document format, translator and mapper, communication software and communication network. EDI standards. See, EDI standard is going to be the most critical part in entire EDI. You know why? It is because long ago, before we are establishing this EDI, we had different document formats for sending and receiving, which was actually being a communication. For that only, what happened? We started. Ed Gilbert started. Organizing all this through one format. Yes, there were many formats actually, but after EDIFACT only, after one standard was created, there were several standards. Yes, the organizations within themselves, or different countries within themselves, started creating their own standards. So this standard was the most critical part in your entire EDI. Since entire EDI is the data transmission and information exchange in the form of an agreed message format, it is going to be important to develop unified EDI standard. Yes, the EDI standard is actually divided into following aspects: basic standard, code standard, message standard, document standard, management standard, application standard, communication standard, and security standard. First industry specific EDI standard was the TDCC published by Transportation Data Coordinating Committee in 1975. All this we already know. Yes, EDI, EDIFACT. Yes, then other industries started developing their own unique standards based on their individual needs. The first common EDI was actually developed. After it was developed, what happened is they came to know this will be the format and this will be the standard. After knowing that, what happened is the organizations, the industries, what they did is, based on their needs, they started to develop their own standards. Example wins in the warehousing industry. Since the application of EDA has become more mature, what happened is the target of trading is not limited to a single industry. In 1979, American National Institute accredited standard committee developed a wider range of EDI standard called ANSI X12. So what happened? Each and every company, each and every country started developing their own standards, and America started creating what? Their own EDI standard, which was called as ANSI X12. On the other hand, Europe region started developing their own EDI standard, which was known as GTDI. GTDI stands for Guideline for Trade Data Interchange. ANSI X12 and GTDI has become two regional EDI standards in North America and Europe. After the development of these major regional EDI standards, a few years after trial, two standards begin to integrate and conduct research and the development of EDI standards. What happened is they had European countries had their own EDI formats, and America had their own EDI formats, and later on, after few years, what happened is they wanted to integrate, they wanted to combine this, and they wanted to find a common EDI standard. Yes, the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe hosted the task for the development of international EDI standard. They wanted a common EDI standard, isn't it? So what happened? This United Nations Economic Commission started a development of international EDI standard now. In 1986, UN EDIFACT is officially proposed. The most widely used EDI message standards are the United Nations EDIFACT and ANSI X12. So commonly used message standards are going to be your UN EDIFACT and ANSI X12. Now let us see United Nations EDIFACT. United Nations Electronic Data Interchange for Administration, Commerce, and transport. You would have had an what to say, a doubt, what is this EDIFACT, isn't it? It was named like this: electronic data interchange. F for, fine, act, administration, commerce and transport. This is what is shortly called as EDIFACT. Is an international EDI standard which was developed under the supervision of United Nations. So in 1987, syntax rules were approved as ISO 9735 standard by the International Organization for Standardization. Yes, later on it was approved as an international organization standard. EDIFACT actually includes a set of internationally agreed standards, catalogs and guidelines for electronic exchange of structured data between independent computer systems. So as we take this UN EDIFACT, it is a cross-industry standard data format of electronic data for commercial transactions. Yes, this, why do we use this? It is a cross-industry standard data format for what? For commercial transactions. Maintenance and further development of this standard goes through United Nations Center for Trade Facilitation and Electronic Business. Yes, maintenance actually goes through what? Goes through the UNCEFACT. It is nothing but United Nations Center for Trade Facilitation and Electronic Business. Children, please concentrate on these abbreviations because it may be asked as a choice also. So be clear with that. Okay. Actually, your UNCEFACT was affiliated to United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, which is actually termed as UNECE. EDIFACT directories. The versions of your EDIFACT is called as what? Directories. And these directories will be revised twice a year. That is 1st April and 1st October. So you will have two different versions. Yes, it will be like EDIFACT directories have names like D.18B. D stands for directory and B stands for month. Yes, in which it is actually released. A or B. A for April and B represents your October. EDIFACT subset. Due to the complexity, brand-specific subsets of EDIFACT has developed. The subsets of EDIFACTs include functions relevant to specific user groups. So what happened? As the complexity started increasing, they started developing branches for your EDIFACT also. Say for example, if it is going to be a chemical industry, your EDI is going to be CEFIC, which represents chemical industry. EDIFUND, if it is going to be furniture. EDIGAS, which is going to be gas. Actually, they are not. If I'm going to use the same EDI standard for each and everything, what will happen is whatever I'm using for gas may not be related to furnitures. Whatever I'm using for furnitures may not be related to chemical. For such a case only, what happened is they started creating their own subsets. Yes, now let us move on with EDIFACT structure. EDIFACT is a hierarchical structure where top level is going to be an interchange and lower level contains multiple messages. The message consists of segments, which in turn consist of composites. The final iteration is a data element. Yes, let us see the segment table now. Segment table lists the message tags. It contains tags, tag names, requirements, designator and repetition field. The requirements designator may be mandatory, may be compulsory, or may be conditional, may be optional. Yes, M represents mandatory and C represents optional, condition. Yes, M denotes the segment must appear at least once and C denotes the segment may be used if needed. C10 indicates repetition of a segment or a group between 0 to 10. Here the position 10 means what happens? It might be repeated here. 10 actually represents, it is actually repeated again and again from 0 to 10. M represents what? It is mandatory. This is going to be the tag. Yes, and 0 to 20, 0 20, what does it mean? 0 20 means, what does it represent? 0 20 means, it means it is going to represent from 0 to 20, and M represents it is mandatory, and this is going to be the tag that we are going to use. The same way it is going to be represented here. Fine. This is a sample EDI application actually. What sort of transfer you're going to make, what sort of data you wanted to add, all these details will be here in this sample EDI application. Yes. And this is going to be your EDI message structure. Starts from higher level, moves on with interchange. Interchange means piece of data between UNB and UNZ. What is UNB and what is UN? They are termed as tags. Yes. Next comes your functional groups. Piece of data transferred between UNG and UNE. And messages, piece of data transferred between UNH and UNT. And segment groups, block of related data. Segments, mixture of simple and composite elements. What about composite elements? Group of related simple elements. Simple elements combined together, it is going to be composite element. And simple data, a single data is going to be a simple data. And the last is going to be our lowest level. EDI interchange. It is called as interchange, is also called as envelope. The top level of EDIFACT structure is the interchange, and it may contain multiple messages. It starts with UNB and ends with UNEZ. The basic concept of EDIFACT is that they have uniform message types, common message types, and they are called as what? United Nations Standard Message. It is also called as what? Subsets. The message types can be specified deeper in their characteristics dependent on the sector. The message types, all of which always have exactly one nickname consisting of 6 uppercase English alphabets. The message begins with UNH and ends up with UNT. Servers messages to confirm and reject a message. Yes, control and APIRAC messages are sent. Control syntax checks the confirmation of arrival of messages. APRAC, it is for detecting the technical error and also for acknowledgement. And what about data exchange? You have these type of code. CRE-MUL, which is a multiple credit advice. DEL for delivery forecast. IFT MPC booking confirmation. Yes, these are the code words actually which is used in your messages. We call it as what? Nicknames. Yes. What about EDIFACT segments? It is a subset of messages. A segment is a 3-character alphanumeric code. It is going to have alphabets and also numbers. These segments are listed in segment tables. Segments may contain what? One or several related user data elements. Already we told you what is EDIFACT elements. It can either be simple or composite. What is composite? Combination of group of simple elements. What about simple? Simple is nothing but single element. And finally comes your EDI separators. It has following punctuation marks that are used for standard separators. Apostrophe for segment terminator. Plus sign for segment tagged element separator. And colon is for component data element separator. Question mark for release character. And period for decimal point. Yes, with this the lesson just gets over. Here you have a example code for your EDI. Nothing but you will have tags and the segments. Yes, the separators. What does it actually specify? That's it. Yes, children. So what did we see for today? We saw what is EDI. What is EDI? EDI stands for electronic data interchange. Why did we get into it? Because paperwork was actually complex and transfer of data was also complex. We started a standardized format called EDI, isn't it? And who started it? It was started with by Ed Gilbert. In this, we saw EDI types: direct EDI, EDI via WAN, EDI via FTP, web EDI, and mobile EDI. What is direct EDI? Point to point. EDI via WAN is going to be value added. You will have a mid person for the sender and the receiver. Why did we start it? Because we wanted to avoid complexity. EDI via FTP, we used protocols for sending data, whether it might be an internet or intranet. Yes, web EDI, we will be using browsers. And what about mobile EDI? It is using handheld devices. We will be transferring the data. Yes, and it was actually the transaction speed using mobile EDI is very fast. Then we saw EDI layer, semantic layer, standard translation layer, transport layer, and physical layer. We also saw the advantages of EDI. And we came to know what is EDIFACT. What is EDIFACT? Yes, electronic data interchange for what? For administration, commerce, and transport. Yes, that is what is termed as what? EDIFACT. And we came across these concepts. We also came to know why did we start EDI, isn't it? America started their own standard format, Europe started their own format, and finally they wanted to collaborate and they created a new format. And finally, what happened? We started using ANSI and EDIFACT only for the further creations. Later on, what happened? We started creating subsets. It is because for chemical industry, for furniture industry, for gas industry, what will happen is this EDI standard will not be common. In such a case, we wanted to develop what? We wanted to develop subsets where each and everything will be different for them. Yes. Then we saw EDI directories, which will have two versions, which will be represented as A or B. D represents directory, A represents April, and B represents October. Finally, we saw segment table, separators, etc. Isn't it? Yes, children. With this lesson gets over. Not only this lesson, the whole book just gets over. Your work is to study and get ready for the exam. Keep studying. And for doubts, you can come to me in person with a letter from your parents, or you people can even send you can send questions also through messages, or you can directly approach the office. Yes, write the 2 marks, 3 marks alone in your classwork notebook and submit it to the office, to your G15 room without fail. Yes, children, thank you.